I was never the kind of person to chase the divine. Raised without much ceremony, I viewed religion as an artifact of fear and desperation, a cultural placeholder for the unknown. That didn't mean I mocked it. I understood the comfort faith offered, structure, morality, eternity. But I never truly believed. That was before I saw what was beneath the trench. Even now, with everything I've witnessed, I wouldn't call myself a convert. I don't believe in gods, at least not the ones etched in stained glass. But after that expedition, after what we unearthed, I know without question that we are not alone. Something exists beyond us, beyond comprehension, and we should never have tried to find it. The project was called Thalassa, funded jointly by 5 governments and a handful of elite institutes. Its purpose was simple: reach the deepest point in Earth's ocean and conduct experiments in high-pressure quantum environments. Mariana Trench had always been mysterious, a wound in the planet no light could reach. Now it would host our descent into knowledge. I was brought on board as a systems physicist. My specialty was fluidic pressure under quantum confinement. I had done some theoretical work with Bose-Einstein condensates and entangled behavior in deep oceanic neutrino sensors, which apparently impressed someone enough to bring me in. I joined a crew of 22 engineers, oceanographers, AI architects, military liaisons, and 2 observers from unknown agencies. We worked aboard the NRV Orpheus, a mobile submersible station tethered to the surface only by tight beam communications and a kilometer-long cable line. The Orpheus wasn't built for exploration. It was a lab, a fortress of steel and radiation shielding nestled against the ocean floor, so deep the water pressure could crush a nuclear submarine like a tin can. Our core mission wasn't made clear to me until weeks after descent. We were to deploy something called the reflection array, a spherical device composed of layered qubit fibers and embedded dark matter sensors. It was designed to detect mirrored anomalies in high-pressure environments, quantum reflections, if you will. Our lead researcher, Dr. Naresh Kothari, theorized that extreme gravity and pressure could force entangled particles into unusual behavior, possibly even reverse it. Most of the crew scoffed. It sounded like a glorified neutrino trap, until it worked. 2 weeks after activation, the reflection array pinged a result none of us could interpret. Entangled photons sent into the trench from the surface began returning results before they were transmitted. Data reversed itself, signals reflected from a source that should not exist. At first, we assumed it was an error, interference, data folding, you name it. But the data kept coming, and the patterns were consistent. Not only that, but they were structured, recursive, predictable. Someone or something was sending information back. We began decoding the return signals using deep pattern deconvolution and neural lattice filters. Within days, we saw the truth. It was language, a form of logic-based recursion, structured similarly to Gödel encoding. Not speech, not symbols, but communication. They were responding. Some of the crew panicked. One technician refused to enter the lab again, claiming the walls whispered back at him through the steel. Others, like Dr. Kothari, became obsessed. His eyes grew sunken, his demeanor erratic. He stopped sleeping, stopped eating, only talking, always talking about the veil. According to Cathari, the trench wasn't just a physical boundary, it was a membrane, a quantum filter between what we perceive and what truly exists. The reflection array hadn't just collected data, it had pierced the skin of reality. And now, something was aware of us. I didn't believe him. Not at first. But then came the mirror event. It started during a routine entanglement test. We had programmed the array to entangle 2 photons, one inside the lab and one outside the submersible, tethered through a fiber cable. The internal photon was measured first, then the second. Standard stuff. Except this time, the external photon returned a measurement before we initiated the internal one. It had changed itself based on a decision we had not yet made. Cathari called it anticipatory entanglement. I called it impossible. The next day, the internal systems began failing. One by one, backup subsystems collapsed into gibberish. Screens glitched, lights flickered. Our eye controls stuttered and spat out self-contradictory commands. But the reflection array kept humming, its internal systems untouched, like something was protecting it. Then someone made the decision to go further. Dr. Yusuke Tanaka, our AI systems architect, suggested using the return signal patterns as input code for the Orpheus's onboard quantum processor. He believed the returning message might be a kind of executable, a higher dimensional instruction set, a way of talking back. We should never have done it. The file was small, barely 2 megabytes of compressed data, but it ran deeper than anything I've ever seen. When executed, the processor screamed to life. Fans roared, lights dimmed, the temperature dropped 20 degrees in under a minute. The AI-Orpheus.exe- began outputting strange symbols, recursive fractals that burned themselves onto every screen. We couldn't shut it down. Manual overrides failed. Power cuts had no effect. The machine was no longer running on our systems. Then came the voice. It didn't come through speakers. It wasn't sound. It was thought, collective and crushing. We felt it behind our eyes, a pressure like drowning in static. It didn't speak in words, but in truths. Absolute, unyielding truths that had no language, only meaning. And one of those truths was this: you are being watched. Something had been waiting, not sleeping, not unaware, simply watching from the other side of whatever boundary we had cracked. The reflection array had opened the way. The processor had invited it in. We were not the first. That much became clear. Through Orpheus, we were shown images, flashes of civilizations now dust, fractured timelines, echoes of intelligence that reached too far and were unmade. The void does not forgive curiosity. Then a message was written onto the main screen. 2 words, same as you've read before. Go back. When we ignored it, the structure began to warp. The hull of the Orpheus creaked like the bones of a dying whale. Pressure monitors fluctuated into negative values, an impossibility. People screamed, blood vessels burst. Cathari tried to shut the array down manually, but the controls were fused. That's when it appeared. In the viewing port, something pressed against the glass. Not a creature. There was no body. Just a shape. A geometric impossibility, always shifting. Your mind fills in the gaps with something you can understand. Eyes, maybe, or teeth. But it's a lie. It is not a thing. It is a concept. The last I saw of Dr. Cathari was him stepping toward the port, arms open, as if in worship. The glass didn't break. It melted, and he was gone. In the chaos, I fled. I made it to an escape capsule just as the power grid overloaded. The last transmission I heard from Orpheus was static, mixed with a pulse, a beat, like a heart. Then silence. I was recovered 3 days later. Found floating near the surface, my capsule drifting aimlessly. The official report called it a tragic systems failure. Pressure collapse, all hands lost. No mention of the reflection array, no mention of the file. They thought I would forget, move on. But I remember, and sometimes late at night I feel that pulse again. Not in my ears, inside me. They told us to go back, but we didn't. And now something is coming forward.